Life can be chaotic. If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment add to the chaos. Use ShipStation instead. With ShipStation, you never have to worry about shipping and fulfillment again. Whether you're running a business out of your garage or you have multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your business's growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating repetitive tasks. Plus, you'll save money with the best shipping rates from global carriers. ShipStation's industry-leading features help you deliver a better customer experience. They'll get accurate and faster shipments along with automated tracking updates with your branding. And with up to 88% off UPS and USPS rates and up to 90% off FedEx rates, ShipStation is the fastest and most affordable way to ship. Calm the chaos. Switch to ShipStation today. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, St. Patrick's Day at the resort, an Easter tradition is not happening this year.
Updates for Grand Californian guests, costumes from Snow White are on display. We finish our conversation with Jeff and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Greetings aboard the DL Weekly Orbiter. For your safety, intergalactic regulations require that you remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast. And please, watch your children. To make Tag and Teresa fly higher, pull back on the control lever in front of you. To descend, just push the control lever forward. Thank you. Please enjoy your spaceflight.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of March 19th, 2025. I'm Teg Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show, but this week we would like to give a special shout out to Lynn P., Christy L., Chris Y., and Chrysanthi T. for your continued support. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other really fun perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Well, now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, earlier this week was St. Patrick's Day, and Disneyland had limited offerings, unfortunately. The only things at the resort were a version of the gray stuff called the green stuff at Red Rose Tavern, and a St. Patty's Day t-shirt featuring Kermit the Frog. Of course, the little man of Disneyland, Patrick Begora, was celebrating at his tiny home in Adventureland.
Okay. St. Patrick's Day, I feel like they don't, maybe we have more treat options, but it's not one that the parks typically go all out for like some of the other big holidays. But I just can't get over that they decorate Patrick's house. I can't believe Patrick decorated his house and went all out. He has, during the holiday seasons, there's a little wreath that you'll find on his door that he has out, but he goes all out for St. Patrick's Day, as he should. There's a pot of gold with a rainbow, all sorts of like green decor all over his little home in Adventureland. I love this detail so much, that the house exists, but then B, that we take the time to decorate it according to the holidays too. I can't.
Of course, a nice St. Patrick's Day shirt with Kermit the Frog feeling green seems kind of appropriate. So that's kind of cool to have Kermit the Frog on there. The green stuff is just the gray stuff with green coloring, or does it have like a mint to it? I didn't see any information about that.
Yeah, it didn't have a flavor. Didn't tell us what the flavor is. They do, again, you already mentioned, they do this every year. So it's mint, white chocolate mousse, chocolate cake, mint chocolate chips, and chocolate cookie crumbs on a shortbread cookie. Ooh, of all the different colored stuffs,
okay,
this sounds probably like the best to me, because I, and you do too, really enjoy the actual gray stuff itself.
Yeah.
But the gray stuff, as you order it from Red Rose Tavern as a dessert, has, what is it, like a raspberry? There's
stuff in it
inside of it. It's not just the gray stuff fluff.
Yeah.
This sounds like it's mostly the fluff, but the things that are with it make sense to go with it, right? Like we've got chocolate cake. Is probably what it's all whipped around.
Sure. That wouldn't be
mint
so
white
bad.
chocolate mousse on chocolate cake makes sense with some mint chocolate chips and chocolate cookie crumbs sprinkled on top.
What I understand is why can't they just make the gray stuff just solid
Just gray
gray
stuff.
stuff? Why do I need to have something in the middle? By the way, one of the things that was quite funny was, which we didn't mention a couple episodes ago, was when Alex had his Dole Whip. I showed him the dirty truth of the Dole Whip, which is you take a bite and the inside is hollow. And he was like, what is this? And there was some guests next to us that were like, yeah, what is this? And I said, trust me, like, I feel in general it should be a snack. And if they were to make it completely solid, that would be so much Dole Whip.
Well, and I don't know. So, think of when you're on a cruise and you're doing your own soft serve. It doesn't come out of the thing thick enough to be able to like fill that gap. It'd be a very weird looking tower if you they do it so that it's pretty.
I get it. That's fine.
Speaking of, I know that this is way off topic, but I got distracted because I'm pretending I'm doing a mobile order at Red Rose so that I could make sure we got the gray stuff
ingredients
description and ingredients down correctly for everyone. They have a salted caramel butter cake sundae there.
That sounds really good.
That sounds really good. But also, did you guys try any of the new Fantasyland
We
Fair
did not.
Folds?
We didn't eat at Red Rose Tavern at all.
They have garlic pommes frites there too. I think we're gonna have to try this out when we're there next time. I've heard good things about the Fantasyland Fair Folds. There's one that's chicken, a spicy chicken, and there's one that's a burger, as well as
which we talked about
option
on a previous. Yep.
Well, guests staying at the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa will delight in the updates happening. New entry gates are being installed to go along with the new entry gates at the monorail station in downtown Disney and the entrances to both Disney California Adventure and Disneyland. Two of the full-service restaurants, Storytellers Cafe and Napa Rose, are both undergoing refurbishments, a new concierge lounge, and updates to rooms. Lots happening at the good old GCH.
When we were there, I remember they were just putting up the scaffolding to do some of the exterior work on some of the rooms. And I was like, they probably don't have guests in the rooms where the scaffoldings are, but they probably do like adjacent. And I remember thinking, that's a lot of noise for that, but it's going to be good. I forget about the entrance of the Grand Californian a lot. And I did not think, oh, yeah, they'll probably update the entrance gates to the new entrance gates there, too. So it never fazed me. But you can use, if you do want to enter, you can use the Pixar Place private entrance if you're a Grand Californian guest, if you want to have a special dedicated entrance.
Yeah, and that is not, it's next to the Grand Californian Hotel, whereas the actual entrance that they're working on now is inside, is within the Grand Californian Hotel. The other thing too to note is, so right now Storytellers is doing a refurb. However, so the actual location, Storytellers Cafe, is currently closed, so that work can be done on the kitchen. But Mickey Tales of Adventure breakfast buffet and brunch is still taking place, but it's been moved temporarily into the Trillium Ballroom, which is a ballroom in the Grand Californian Hotel. But
cool.
Storytellers will be open in time for its popular Easter brunch on April 20th. So short refurb, well, I guess not super short, at least a month. But just something to note if you're going to the resort soon, or if you're staying at the Grand Californian, there's a lot going on right now, so it's not the normal hotel amenities and easy park entrance that you're used to.
Also, since you mentioned the Storytellers Cafe thing, for Napa Rose, the Disney Princess Breakfast Adventures are also going to be relocated to the Trillium Room for those events. So if you have any of those things booked, it'll just be at a slightly different location.
Yeah. So it sounds like once they're going to wrap up Storyteller stuff, and then Napa Rose will be closed. So it won't be both dining locations
right,
closed
that'd be
at the
weird.
same time. Yeah. That'd be a lot of people in that one ball.
I sometimes forget how long the Grand Californian has been open. It opened in 2001. And so the fact that they're doing renovations now, like for some reason I was like, it doesn't seem like it's that old. It's 24 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Well, over at Carthay Circle Restaurant, there are costumes on display from the Snow White live-action movie. The costumes were worn by Snow White, played by Rachel Zegler, and the Evil Queen, played by Gal Gadot. The original animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, premiered at the original Carthay Circle Theater in Los Angeles on December 21st, 1937, making this kind of a homage to the original opening. Full circle.
I think this is really, really neat. And, it's not something that you would assume that movie costumes, especially, would be on display at a restaurant in Disneyland. But like Tag said, like perfect full circle. This makes total sense. I have seen photos shared on social media of this display. And they've got, the costumes are, of course, are on mannequins. So it's not like it's just a little display. It's taking up some floor room, but it looks really, really nice. And again, what a cool thing, because these are sometimes things that you don't get to just see close up. So even if you aren't going to be dining at the restaurant, please poke your head in and go take a look at these costumes. They always have these in a space kind of towards the front so that folks, again, that don't have reservations or aren't going to be in the lounge or anything like that can still access where they are to come take a look. It is something that's available for the public.
I don't ever think to look in the Carthay Circle Theater for some reason. Like I know that like when we took our VIP tour, she brought us in and like pointed out a couple things in here, and I feel like we should make it a habit to just peek in every visit because there might be something there. By the way, I'm looking at pictures. I'll put a link in the show notes to this. But this necklace that the Evil Queen, that looks like it came right out of Wicked. It's like green emeraldy looking.
Yeah. I really like
cool.
her crown, how it looks like it's stained glass.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I was not really interested in seeing this movie, but now that I've seen these costumes, I kind of want to see the movie.
Yeah, there you go. The marketing's working.
Apparently.
Well, this week, the Easter foodie guide was posted by Disney. This year, you can book a spot at Goofy's Kitchen, celebrate springtime at the Disneyland Hotel, or Storyteller's Cafe Easter Brunch at the Grand Californian. Another Easter item that will be hopping into the park soon is a Thumper Spring popcorn bucket.
Thumper is adorable.
Yes.
Thumper is probably one of my favorite, like background characters,
Like supporting
characters. He's so cute.
He's
and
very cute.
He's like, thumping. I don't know. I kind of want to go back and watch Bambi now just for Thumper.
There you go.
But yeah, so they've, there's a few things going around. I kind of feel like, again, it seems like, I don't remember what they did last year for Easter, but I feel like there's just not, if you look through this guide, there's a ton of stuff at Disney World. And there's not so many things necessarily that are hanging out at Disneyland.
We didn't get a lot of new stuff this year, so there's tons of returning treats.
Maybe that's what I'm
located throughout the resort at spots like Bing Bong's and Candy Palace, and at the new Wonderful World of Sweets, Pooh's Corner, and Trolley Treats. Real quick, different apples, different cute shaped cake pops, and Rice Krispie treats. There's a strawberry shortcake Mickey Mallow. Ooh, that sounds good. Not new, but that's available everywhere but the Wonderful World of Sweets. It's a Mickey shaped marshmallow dipped in white chocolate and rolled in crushed graham cracker and strawberry chips. Interesting.
That's different.
Cute caramel apples, springtime goodies.
Huh. The Honeybee Caramel Apple, Granny Smith apple dipped in black-colored dark chocolate and decorated with a yellow-colored chocolate and white sanding sugar-covered marshmallow wings. That's interesting. Trolley Treats and Pooh Corner for that one.
Over at Pixar Place Hotel at the Great Maple Modern Eatery, available April 1st through the 20th, you can get chocolate Easter egg pancakes.
Ooh.
So it's chocolate eggs, so like not eggs like real eggs, but like candy chocolate eggs, berry whipped cream, and maple syrup.
That sounds
cute.
so good.
Like there's the photo of them's cute. There's a little like duck. I don't know. I think it's duck.
That looks like a peep.
Like kind of like a peep, but a little bit like a plussed peep because he's got a big orange bill.
Oh, sure.
And there's also truffled deviled eggs with Parmesan lace. Those look very fancy.
Yeah.
So it's some sweet and savory there.
That's good. That's good to have some sweet and savory.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of sweet and some things for Easter, an Easter tradition is not returning this year. The coveted chocolate Easter eggs at Candy Palace are not going to be on the menu. This is a result of cost-cutting measures at the candy kitchens. There are less offerings at the moment than in the past, which I'm surprised. I felt like these chocolate eggs were not necessarily at the same level as like the candy canes, but I did feel like there was a following.
Definitely. I think there was a level, and the thing that was cool about the chocolate eggs, hopefully they're not completely gone, and this is maybe just a one-off year because of staffing. I just hope. But the thing that's really neat is each day they made different ones, so it'd be like different flavorings. Versus the candy cane was it was the same candy cane every day, but this was so you could go get eggs multiple times and have a different experience. So these things make me sad when stuff like this goes away. So again, I'm really hoping to the Disneyland gods that this is just a one-off this year and that they'll be back, because stuff like this is what I feel makes Disneyland like unique.
Yeah.
And something that like people like stuff like this because you build traditions around it. So maybe it's like the hand-pulled candy canes. It's something you've always heard about and you just really want to try it. Or maybe it's something that you have it's part of your holiday tradition to get one every year.
Yeah.
Same thing with these Easter eggs. I think a lot of folks definitely will be missing the eggs this year.
Well, and I think it's kind of weird that it's like a cost-cutting thing, because I'm like, if you're not making money on these, now people are going to pitchfork me for this one. If you're not making money on these things, maybe you should charge more for them.
Well, I feel like there's no way they're not. So I don't know. So it's may
weird.
have just been a staffing thing where we only have so much
I liked your idea
to focus on this or that. So maybe they decided they needed to be focusing more on filling the treat goodies than taking people away to just focus on egg making. But yeah, you can talk about what we said prior to this.
Yeah, because Teresa had said that because at the Wonderful World of Sweets that there is kind of like a bigger show kitchen, that maybe some of the staff from the In the Parks locations might be moved there just because there's more space. And so maybe it's just like one of those situations. I don't know. I mean, it just seems strange. And again, this isn't like Disney saying that they're cutting whatever. This is just from the Mice Chat article we pulled it from. So it may not be that, but it looks that way.
It's speculation. Because even with the thought process of if they were filling the bigger display kitchen at the Wonderful World of Sweets, well, they could be pumping out all of the the candy apples, and like they could be doing that stuff there, and the Main Street kitchen could just be doing the eggs or something. I feel like there's still you could get creative about it.
Yeah,
there's got to be something else. Maybe time will tell if we'll figure it out. But I just really hope it's not gone forever.
Yeah. Send in comments at City Hall and stuff if you really are missing these things.
That's true.
Owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to fling your favorite fishing rod around. And here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance covers your boat and your belongings. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to high-five someone. But not while you're holding your fishing rod. That's a prized possession. So hold on tight with both hands and keep it covered through boat insurance. Get more with Geico.
I, up, down, touch the ground. I think of things to chew, like honey and milk and chocolate. With a hefty, happy appetite, I'm a hefty, happy poo. A rumbly in my tumbly means it's time for snacks.
Well, for this week in Snack Chat, we are talking about a returning favorite, the Jolly Holiday. So we are talking about it not in the sense of, hey, this is what the normal stuff is. We're talking about it as, hey, this location has been under refurbishment for quite some time. It's coming back real soon, and with it, some updates to the menu.
There's some 4 new snacks that are debuting at the Jolly Holiday, and the first one on the list, and appropriately I'm talking about it, it wasn't planned this way, it just happened, is the Donald Macaron. So this is a macaron that looks like it has like a cool, I don't know, it's like a some type of berry filling maybe, with like a white macaron, and of course it's got a little Donald hat on it, and it's got about a third of it's blue with like a little red bow on it. Looks cute.
It's adorable.
I'm curious when we get more information about this, what the filling, the descriptions will be.
My guess, it looks like it might be a blueberry.
That's what I was thinking too.
Mm-hmm. There's also a pineapple bundt cake that is coming onto the new menu, along with a Jolly chopped salad. Again, they just kind of like released images and names of what's happening. They didn't release like the full menu list. But the chopped salad, from what I can see green olives. I can see like garbanzo beans, red onion, tomato, a spring mix. I can't tell. Maybe
there's cabbage,
that's chicken. And it looks like there's a breadstick on the side. It looks
and
nice
like sometimes, yeah, and one of the sauces.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pepper, like a little pepper in there. Yep. Again, they haven't given us a description, so we're just kind of like is this like basil or something on top of it too? Because this looks like anyway. And then finally, of course, I feel like Teresa should have talked about this one, but she did. Is the toffee nut cold brew? That's happening. That 100% is happening. That sounds delicious. It looks like it's got a nice like cold foam cream on the top as well, and some, I'm sure, toffee dusting on the top. Very delicious. Some old favorites that are returning that aren't always on the menu is the banoffee tart. I feel like that was a limited time item that's lingered. You were trying to get it
at
one time.
Yes.
And then the beef birria toasted cheese is the other one.
So good.
I want to try that when we're there.
So
if it's
I
open.
tried this one of our trips that we were there. It was a limited time offering. It's a strawberry stuffed croissant. Oh, so good. It's available for the breakfast menu. Yum. I highly recommend it.
I want to try one of those.
And I feel like this one was a limited time offering that's back again.
The s'mores tart.
S'mores tart. Mm-hmm.
To me, my ratio of liking s'mores, that's a little too much marshmallow for me. But And of course, the Matterhorn macaroon, which is always a good option. I think if we are in the park for breakfast and it's open, I think I do want to try one of these strawberry stuffed croissants because I feel like I always get like stuff that's kind of sweet in the morning, at least when I outside the parks, basically. And so I think something like this will obviously be a little bit sweet, but I think with the strawberries, like it'll be a little bit healthier than like something. It's like
there's like a cream on the inside. It's not like, I don't think it's a whipped cream. It felt a little thicker than that. It was very good. It was one of those, I tried it and I was like, this needs to like just always be here. This is so good. I'm not a big breakfast foods person in general, so most of the time I just do coffee for breakfast, so it's not something I normally find something I like because it's either too sweet or anyways, we don't have to go into that.
It's got strawberries, pastry cream, strawberry coulis, and powdered sugar. By the way, they have this on the menu, so we can talk about what was in that salad. By the way, the Jolly Holiday reopens on March 22nd, so this stuff will be available then.
Real quick, before we dive back into the items, you were not here when James and I announced on the show, on the news items, the update to the Jolly Holiday sign. Have you seen the Jolly Holiday sign?
Did. I think I'm withholding judgment until the thing opens because I'm not sure that that's a final incarnation.
I'm really hoping it's not. I don't know how all of Main Street
I don't think
has
it looks
the popcorn lights,
Mm-hmm.
and they would take away the popcorn lights. You know what I mean? Everything has that. That's Main Street. Okay, so let's start with the Donald macaron.
I don't see. Oh, cherry
buttercream. We were wrong. We thought it was blueberry, but it's a cherry buttercream and a vanilla bean creme. Yum. The Jolly Chop salad available starting.
Mixed greens, chopped deli meats. We didn't catch that on there.
Did not catch
Italian relish, garbanzos and olives with a creamy Italian vinaigrette, and a fresh breadstick.
Yum. Can we find the cold brew? Because I need to know.
Oh, that was on the other screen.
Tell me more about the cold brew. It just says toffee, nut syrup, and vanilla foam.
I hope that was worth it to try to find.
I hope, the suspense was killing us. I don't know if the wait was worth it. Because it's kind of self-explanatory.
It'll be good.
Is okay. It's still going to be delicious.
It'll be good to have this location reopen, though, because I feel like it's like when we were there, I sorely missed being able to get something at the Jolly Holiday because it's just a great location.
It's very conveniently located because it's sort of centralized. It feels like you walk past it multiple times a day, so it's not like it's really a destination.
Yeah.
Like maybe going to someplace in Galaxy's Edge is because.
Oh, yeah. But the other thing, too, with Jolly Holiday, and I think we've commented on this as long as they've offered mobile order, it seems like one of the few places in the park that the mobile order is really done well.
Yeah.
Because we've never really had a major problem when we've done mobile order here. Well, you've heard us talk about our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson Anaheim. Well, we have partnered with them to offer our listeners some cool discounts. Weekly tiers can get a special deal that's happening right now, up to 25% off when you stay 3 or more nights if you book by May 31st, 2025 to get the deal. Otherwise, outside of that, we offer up to 15% off your stay for being a weekly tier. To take advantage of this discount, head on over to DLWeekly.net and click on the Howard Johnson logo. Be sure to use the promo code on the site to get the discount, because that is going to be what you need to get the amazing deal at the Howard Johnson, which is a great place for you to stay. We love staying there as well.
Yes, we do.
Your attention, please. DL Weekly Trivia is now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom, with stops at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. All weekly tiers board.
Hello there. You found your way to TriviaLand. Welcome.
I mean, we find our way here every week, so I don't know why we think we're lost or something.
I that's my job to get lost, not yours.
Oh, I forgot that you might be having some more of these new games.
Oh, yes. Not this week.
Okay.
This week, just 4 standard trivia questions that I wrote down on our most recent trip.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So, yeah, you're in for a real treat, I think.
Okay.
And Teresa, I can feel the excitement from you as well. So
Teresa's distracted looking at where in the park bundles right now.
Ooh, there probably are some good ones out there. So, but I will not make Teresa wait anymore. 4 questions for you. Like I said, things I noticed in the park that I'm like, that'd be fun to ask about. Some of which I feel like you have a good shot at getting. So,
well, we like that.
Well, I was there, so perhaps
maybe we have an even better shot.
Maybe.
Famous
James, when he
last
was with me
words
on this side of TriviaLand last week, he did better than me.
I did great.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking me a couple of questions, and he was surprised.
The first one was like a 007 thing.
I also said Goldfinger, and James said you'd think so. And my second guess was Man with a Golden Gun, and there you go.
He had to list movie titles off for me to even be able to choose one, because that's how little I know about James Bond.
And then there was some other question that came up that I was like, I knew the answer to as well, and James was like, "What?" I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was the year.
No, it was the monorail at the Disneyland Hotel.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't surprised that you knew that one bit.
Yeah, monorail. Hello.
Yep.
Anyway,
we don't need to relive Teresa and my embarrassing answers to that one when we've got new embarrassing answers for the two of you.
All right, let's do it.
All right, getting in, easing you in. My first question: what colors do the Dapper Dans typically wear?
Oh, purple.
Purple, yellow,
Red.
orange,
and there's like a teal.
Teal. You're right, teal. Is there red?
Yes, there's red.
Why am I thinking?
Okay,
why do I feel orange? No.
You can change yours out. We
No.
have different answers. It's okay.
No, I think we're right. I just, for some reason, my brain was like orange, and I'm like, I don't think there is orange, but my brain wants to see orange.
There's yellow and there's red, so it's kind of
We saw them like twice.
We did
when we were there last time.
Both times in front of the fire station.
Yeah.
Now you're making me second guess if there's orange or not.
It's yellow. Where's it orange?
We're sticking with our original.
Yellow?
This is exactly what I wanted this question to do.
I'm fairly certain, but now I was confident until you started questioning things. I'm
going to switch the yellow to orange for me. Because yellow seems like it'd be super bright, and I feel like it's maybe a little darker. There's somebody yelling at the podcast right now.
Oh, absolutely.
But I know purple because I was looking, if I was a Dapper Dan, I would be the purple Dapper Dan. I have a question about the Dapper Dans, Teresa, and maybe you know the answer. Maybe James knows the answer. The color that they are, does that correspond to like what their range is in it? Or like what determines the color Dapper Dan you are?
I've never paid close enough attention, but I could see that like the base is always whatever color. And yeah, I could see that. I don't know if that's
I would assume that is true, just in case it's
work.
not the same four pack that's out. If there's a different Dan.
It's always the
consistently
same 4 colors, so you don't have like you were assigned purple, but you're on the shift with this other guy that was assigned purple too.
Because then they'd have to have like 4 costumes each, and so it's much better.
Yeah.
It's like all the basses are this, all the baritones are this, all the leads are this, all the tenors.
Well, I feel like though I feel like the Dapper Dans, like I feel like they probably have 2 sets of Dapper Dans, and I feel like they work together. Like I don't know if I feel like I always see them with the same people. I don't see like, oh, that guy's with this other group. I feel like there's a bunch. I'm gonna have to Google this after we get our answer because I am really curious about this now.
Go down the Dapper Dan.
Well, I have all these questions that I didn't realize I had.
Yeah,
should have asked them when we were at the park. They probably would have thought it was a cool question. Anyway, look at that! I answered a trivia or asked a trivia question.
Mm-hmm.
James, are you looking it up? Is that what's happening?
Nope, just exploring other things. So.
Okay.
You're giving him ideas. Shh.
Yeah, you are giving me ideas. It's great. I love these ideas.
Oh, no.
All right, moving on. Question number 2. What are the first and last lines said by the audio animatronics in the Enchanted Tiki Room? As in, like, the first line of the show.
Buenos dias, senorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter.
Welcome to Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room.
Look at all the people.
Look at all the people.
That's what they say before welcome to, because they say, look at all the people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And...
we're going to make you all disappear. Hi-ho, hi-ho.
Yeah, but don't they, like, have more yelling?
No, because it's hi-ho, hi-ho, and you're leaving.
Like, it's not... Okay. Okay.
Now, are you counting hi-ho, or are you counting... Now we have a wonderful magic trick for you. Yahoo. The Tiki Room stands still.
Disappear.
The song does not count. I asked what is said.
Okay.
Not sang.
We're going to make you all disappear. Yeah, because it's like, face the door. And we're going to make you all disappear. I feel pretty good about that one.
Teresa, do you feel pretty good about that one too?
Yes.
James is like, ha.
I'm trying to remember, like, where they're, like, yelling, ole, ole. No, that's at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, so the Buenos Dias.
Because remember, they say, all right, everybody, like, we're going to wake up. We're going to wake up and he goes,
wait.
oh.
Is it the cast members?
No, I want
Audio
the audio
animatronics.
animatronics.
Like, wait a minute now.
Yep.
Buenos Dias.
Oh, Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Hey, look at all the people. Welcome to Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. I'm mi amigo, Michael, mi amigo. Wake up, it's showtime.
I like that.
So
Quit
it
your
is.
clucking.
Anyway.
All right, everyone, we will be back to
Quit your clucking,
TriviaLand
isn't
in
that
about
in Pirates?
18 minutes as Tag serenades us with the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Wait. Is it quit your clucking in Pirates? Because it's
yeah,
Reg.
Red says that, but
Yeah.
I think the Tiki Bird says it to another one.
Oh, okay.
Moving on. Question number 3. Stanley's Oasis is in the queue for Radiator Springs Racers. In the queue, it is identified as which wonder of the world?
Oh, no. The 9th?
This is pretty early in the queue, so a lot of times I feel like it is missed on the way through.
Can you ask it one more time?
Yeah, Stanley's Oasis is one of the places in the queue for Radiator Springs Racers. On it is identified as which wonder of the world? As in, I'm looking for a number.
I'm sticking with 9th.
I feel like it's got to be like relate. I don't know.
Because isn't the 8th wonder of the world the backside of water?
Oh.
Maybe I'm making that up.
Maybe it's the 8th wonder of the world is his thing, and it's like a homage to.
Oh, that could be.
I'm gonna say 8th. That was what I was gonna say before you mentioned that.
8th and 9th. Excellent. My final question for you takes us back to Adventureland.
Okay.
What does each family member study at the Adventureland Treehouse?
Oh, boy.
Well, we don't need to link them, do we?
Okay.
I'd like them to be linked, yeah.
The daughter does
The
like,
astronomy.
astronomy.
Which I got made fun of because when I was showing Alex it, I said astrology, and James made fun of me because he said it's not astrology.
Son does like animals, right? He's got all the animals.
Is he the one that has the monkey that keeps like hitting the thing?
Is that zoology then?
Sure. One of them does like
The
music.
Mother is music.
Okay, what's father? Is he the drawing
He's
or the inventor?
Inventor.
Okay,
However, who's the artist?
that's a great question. How many people are there? There's mother, father, daughter, son.
There are 5 family members in the Adventureland Treehouse.
What are we
Another
missing?
person?
Can you give us like the family member or no?
I can if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
The 5th person is technically the same as one of the other ones because it is twin sons.
Oh.
Okay. So the other son
Probably does the
is the
draw.
artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that locks us in for our 4 questions. 4 great things I spotted on our trip, or heard, I suppose, with question number 2. But that's another story. Before we get our answers, there's a lot of story to be told in this week's discussion topic.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are continuing our conversation with Jeff Barnes, the author of The Wisdom of Walt and also known as Dr. Disneyland. And this week we're going to talk about his book.
Yeah, we're going to start with the book.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that part.
We
just
did
yet.
not.
So first was the class, and then next was the book. So how did you kind of transform what you were doing with the class into the book while you were still teaching the class? I don't know how you had time,
Right.
time to do both of these things while taking students to Disneyland and Garner Holt Productions. Yeah, must have had a very busy schedule.
It was busy, but it was also fun because I was on a mission, right? Yeah. So what I started doing was taking lessons from the class that I could tell were really hitting and resonating with students. And then once the course was over, started outlining chapters and, stories that I felt like could really connect with readers. And here was something that I was really passionate about. I didn't want to write another history of Disneyland because those already existed. And I didn't really feel like I could add anything to that space. I also didn't want to write another Disney business book. I've never really worked in corporate America, and I didn't teach Disney as a business class, so I didn't feel like I could add anything to that space. And I didn't really feel like I could be genuine. So I really wanted to do what Walt did, and that was tell stories. Tell stories from the class, stories from my own life, tell stories from the park, stories from Walt, and tell stories that I hope would connect with the reader. And so I started putting these stories together, not really having any idea where the puzzle pieces would actually fit. And then on November 22nd, I remember this vividly because November 22nd, 1963 is the anniversary of Walt seeing the land that would become Walt Disney World for the very first time. I woke up very early that morning thinking about that anniversary. And I'm like, I'm tired of thinking of chapter titles and outlines and stories and puzzle pieces. It's time for me to just start writing. And so I made myself a commitment that I was going to write 333 words every single day, minimum, no matter what, until the book was done.
Wow.
And I made that commitment, and I never failed. Now, there were some days where I wrote 1,000 words. There were some weekends where I wrote 4,000 words. There was never another day that I didn't write at least 333 words. And 142 days later, I was hitting send to the editor. Now, this was a 20 to 25 year, oh, woe is me, I don't know how, who am I, it'll not, right? All of these reasons for why I cannot. And now here I am on the other side of a brain tumor and brain surgery, and I'm just in, F it mode. I don't care. I'm doing it, and, just get out of my way. And I hit send on April 15th, and, my life literally has not been the same since. And it is interesting, and I tell people this all the time. I thought you had to be inspired and motivated in order to write and be creative and make a difference. It's literally the opposite. You have to show up.
Yeah.
You have to write. You have to put in the 333 words, and then motivation and inspiration and creativity will show up and honor the fact that you've bothered to do the work. And I'll give you an example of that. What readers over the years have loved best about both books are the souvenir stops at the end of each chapter and the hand stamp stories. I would love to tell you that I was smart enough to have all of that thought out before I ever wrote the first word. No, that came to me about halfway through the writing process. And the very first chapter that was completed, chapter 11 of the first book, was the last chapter that I actually started.
Oh.
And the first chapter is the last chapter that was actually completed. So again, it's like you've just got to start.
Yeah.
And just keep moving forward every single day. Writing is rewriting, and you can't rewrite what you haven't written.
That's very true. That's very, very true.
They say that stuff all the time, that like you just got to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And even for just like, even for any work, writing or anything, that they say like, just tell yourself you're going to work on something for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And just that 5 minutes, what you'll find is that you just kind of start to do it. And then you're just like, well, okay, now I'm into it. I got to do more than just the 5 minutes because I'm into it now.
Mm-hmm.
But humans in general, just that first 5 minutes is just the hardest thing to get us to want to sit down and do. Put your butt in the chair and your hands on the keyboard, right? And just go.
The number one difference between Walt Disney and everyone else who's listening to this, Walt got off the park bench, and the rest of us are still sitting on it.
That's true. That's true. It's one of those things that everybody has really great and wonderful ideas, but it's the people that, do something with that and act on it. And
best way to get something done is to stop talking and start doing. Right. And I talk about this in the first book. If you go back to when Walt grabs Herb Ryman to draw out the first map of Disneyland, there are parts of that map that you recognize in the park to this day.
Yeah.
Most of it never made it to opening day. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It got the park built.
It got the park built. It got what Roy needed to get on the plane to New York to start pitching the park. And so we think we need to write, the great American novel tonight. No, you just need to write enough to get to write tomorrow. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So how did you go about, there's obviously so much information about Walt and his, the way he went about things. How did you go about researching all of this? I know it's been, a long time and some of it came from the class, but like, how did you kind of approach that?
So that's part of the 142-day story. Once I started writing, it was 20 to 25 years of reading and research that just poured out of me.
Oh, sure.
I would have colleagues and friends here in Southern California who had grown up here. And I did not. Like, I only moved here in 2011. My prior California experience had been up in the Bay Area from 1986 to 2000. Otherwise, I'm a kid in the deep South of, North Carolina, Panhandle, Florida, and Mississippi. And, they grew up with Disneyland in the backyard. They don't remember their first trip because, they were 6 months old. Mm-hmm. And I would tell them things and they would be like, how do you know that? And I'd be like, how do you not know that? Right. And they would be like, well, you got to do something with it, because it would be not just that I knew it, but I would know it and then like have some sort of application about it. Mm-hmm. Like here's this thing. And oh, by the way, this is what it teaches us, or this is what it's telling us, or this is like sort of the life principle or the leadership principle or the success principle. And they're like, Jeff, you like nobody knows that. And if they do, they don't know what to do with it. And so, Walt, again, going back to the 4 C's of confidence and courage and consistency and curiosity. Once I had the confidence to like, yeah, I do know this stuff, I just started pouring it out onto paper.
That's crazy.
So in your, 25 plus years of research, maybe you don't remember, but are there any things that stand out, either books or experiences that you think like were really just kind of wow moments that really kind of maybe had some things click together for you, or anything that stands out through that process?
Yeah, I have a couple of like just absolutely favorite stories. I'll share 3 of them. One is Lily's quote, "I've never seen Walt beaten at anything."
Mm.
It's one thing for Walt to talk about himself.
Yeah.
It's another thing for your life partner to say that about you. I've never seen Walt beaten at anything. And again, this is a guy who was bankrupt at age 21, lost Oswald, the not so lucky rabbit. Mm. When he says it, we can never forget it all started with a mouse. He's lying through his teeth. It started with a rabbit, that he lost in, 19. I mean, the mouse is born out of the loss of the rabbit. Nobody believes in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Roy sends him a note that says, "Stick to shorts, Walt," meaning, short cartoons.
Yeah.
But Lily recognized that, power of confidence in him. I've never seen him beaten at anything, to include, the Burbank City Council telling him no when he pitched Disneyland to the city of Burbank in 1952. Walt just simply saw no as next option, and that's how we ended up with the park in Anaheim.
Which, thank goodness they did, because
Yeah.
otherwise...
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, it would have been built on 8 acres next to the studio, and we see how long the 160 acres lasted in Anaheim, right?
Exactly.
I mean, he would have been done with 8 acres even quicker. The next story that I think is super powerful, and I just wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, halfway through construction. So this is January of 1955, exactly 70 years ago. He grabs an Imagineer one weekend, and they head out to the construction site, and he says to him, half the time is gone, half the money is gone. There's not one thing that I would charge a soul 5 cents to see. I'm scared. And then he got up the next day and kept moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it has been said when Walt was building Disneyland, he did not have a friend in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because nobody believed in it except for Walt. And I think a lot of times, we have this idea that we've got to convince everyone else that we're right. And that's not it. We just have to convince everyone else that we think we're right. Not that we're right, but that we think we're right. and that's what Walt did. Right?
Yeah.
And then the third story, which it just gets me every time. The night before he died, when Roy comes to visit him in the hospital across the street from the studio. And he's still so excited about all the property in Florida and so excited about Epcot. And he looks up at the ceiling tile and he tells Roy, here's where the Magic Kingdom is going to go. And here's where Epcot's going to be. And here's where the monorail's going to run. And then he's gone the next morning. I don't know exactly what compelled Roy out of retirement, but I've always wondered, if that conversation doesn't take place, is it easier for Roy to just sort of rest on his laurels and, stay back?
That's very true. No, that's very, very true.
I always find it really touching, kind of tragically, but also kind of, I don't know how to describe it, that Roy took like the last of his energy on Earth to get the Magic Kingdom done, because he passed not long after Magic Kingdom was completed. Yeah. So
People don't realize that.
Yeah, he kind of he put every last bit that he had in himself to make sure that his little brother's dream would become a reality, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize that he comes out of retirement and he spends the last 5 years of his life willing his brother's final dream into fruition.
Yeah.
And then dies 2 months later. And before Walt's death, he had been to Imagineering in Glendale, which is only 3 miles away from the studio. He had been to Imagineering in Glendale all of one time.
Wow.
And now he's got to run all of it, right? And there are stories of Roy in the swamps in Central Florida shaking his fist at Walt. Like, what the hell have you done to me? But, his son, Roy Jr., would go on to say they were the best and happiest 5 years of my dad's life. And I think that that's true.
Well, and I mean, what a different thing for him to experience, right? Because he was always the business minded and like, the spreadsheets sitting at the desk, making sure all the columns matched and all that, versus Walt's just flowing and flowing and flowing with creativity. So that, to come out of retirement and kind of not just do what you were doing, but do what you were doing on the opposite end of it had to have, been a much...
Doing your role and your brother's role, which
that's true.
I can't even imagine trying to take up that mantle.
Well, and it is interesting that Roy could do Walt's role I don't know that Walt could have done Roy's
That's true.
role.
Yep.
And I will say this, I suspect that between the two of them, Roy was probably a more grounded and happier person.
Mm.
There is an obsessiveness about Walt that I just don't know would have been like good to be around.
Yeah, because you talk to, you hear accounts from folks that worked with him, and it was he never wanted to hear what you did. He always was wondering what you were working on and what was next. So you never, I mean, he would recognize your work, but it wasn't, what it is now where we kind of celebrate that for quite a while. Oh, okay, now what are we doing next? He was just so forward thinking.
Yeah. There's this great scene in the History Channel's How Disney Built America where he says to Roy, if you don't like it, you can always go back to selling vacuum cleaners door to door. And it's pretty horrifying to hear, but it did happen. And as much as we don't want to admit it, Walt did have that side to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say something when I think about Roy and Walt together is, we've talked about this on the podcast before, that the company as a whole, the Walt Disney Company, I think works really well when it's led by two people.
Absolutely.
You have the creative person. So in the beginning, you had Walt. In the 80s, you had Michael Eisner.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Roy. And then in the 80s, you had Frank Wells. And when the company is run by a single person, it just doesn't seem like it works as well. You need someone to kind of rein the really creative person in.
100%.
But you need the creative person to kind of push.
Yeah.
And if you have that in one person, you're not going to have that internal, you're not going to be super creative, but then also, you're not going to fight yourself. You're just going to do what you want to do. But I feel like the company should put in its bylaws or something that there should be two people at the lead. There should be somebody that's creative and somebody that deals with the finances, and that they work together to do the best. Because the two best times I think that the Disney company has ever had from a consumer standpoint has been Walt, obviously, making the company and the parks and everything. Mm-hmm. And then Michael Eisner and Frank Wells expanding it into the global company that it is today. You got Bob Iger, who did a bunch of stuff that kind of did a little bit of both. But I think that if it just seems like it is more potent when it's with the two.
I agree 100%. And I'm very saddened that Michael Eisner does not give the credit that I think he deserves for not just saving the Disney company. People forget what horrific shape it was in 1984 and how close it came to being bought by raiders on Wall Street and probably sold off into, dozens, if not hundreds of pieces. And who knows where we would be today. Mm-hmm. And the Disney that we know today, especially the resort in Florida, is all a byproduct of Michael Eisner and his phenomenal partner, Frank Wells.
Yeah.
And the bad Michael Eisner that everyone associates with today only happens after Wells is killed in that helicopter crash in April of 1994. And, I think, Eisner does not get nearly enough credit for saving the company, bringing incredible creativity, and doing some amazing things that we still benefit from to this day. Who should have been Iger's partner? I don't know, Steve Jobs, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about merging at one point.
That would have been amazing, right?
Yeah.
We're at the point now where Disney is just so stinking big.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the best thing that has happened to Disney in a long time is going to be the opening of Epic on May 22nd.
That's true.
It's interesting. I've heard so many conflicting reports. Some people are thinking that there's nothing to worry about. Disney doesn't have to worry about it. It's not going to be that great. And then there's the other people who are like, oh, Disney's in trouble. And we actually, one of the days we were in California last week, we went to Universal and we talked about how Universal is kind of firing on all cylinders right now, because we spent the first 2 hours of our park day at Universal Studios Hollywood in the Super Nintendo world. And there's only, now I'm just trying to make sure I remember this right, I think there's only one attraction.
There's only one.
Yeah.
No, that's
and we
accurate.
spent 2 hours in there. We rode the attraction 3 times, but it's not a long attraction. But there was so much other little things to do in that land that you just had fun with. We bought one. There was 3 of us. We bought one of the little bands, and we did all the little, hitting the bell things. There were some games you could interact with. There was some really cool other like little game things you did because you had to collect all these different things in the land to get into this other like special kind of thing that was fun. And I remember asking our group, I said, why doesn't Disney do something like this with its properties? Like we have all of Galaxy's Edge that was supposed to have all this cool stuff in it. And Universal's got this tiny, tiny land in Super Mario World. And we had a blast just doing some of the simple stuff in there. And I just wonder, like, what happened to Disney being able to do like these fun little things? Same thing with Wizarding World. I think you were talking about this. That the wands, you buy a wand and you can walk around the land, and it, if you do certain things at certain places, the stuff comes alive. And like, that's not like a ride, but it's still something really cool that you get like a cool experience out of, and it helps sell wands. And so
it's synergy.
You get Disneyland where you can go to Galaxy's Edge and you can get a lightsaber, which, by the way, lightsaber experience, I'm not that emotional of a person, and I was brought to tears in that experience of lifting my lightsaber up and everything. But there was not, like, other than taking a cool photo in front of the Falcon, like, now what? It's just crazy.
I think it's good, though, because how we were talking about, having Disney being led by a creative and then also like financial business minded. Since we don't have that, I think maybe you could get that with competing companies are going to push each other. So I agree with you, Jeff. I think Epic Universe is kind of going to force Disney to kind of push itself creative and maybe take more chances, whereas we've been a little more conservative in the more recent years on taking chances, especially with theme parks.
Yeah, I think Epic Universe is going to crush it, and in doing so, really push Disney in a good way, not a bad way. Now, having said all of that, as much as we want to say that Disney is struggling, the prices keep going up and the crowds, aren't ebbing.
Yeah, there's still very, very high demand.
I wish I had Disney's problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think of, like, with how you said you were in the land for Super Mario World for two hours. You got to try that attraction 3 times. Think if you're in Galaxy's Edge for 2 hours. It'd be rare that you caught the right day that you'd be able to ride Rise of the Resistance 3 times within 2 hours, plus experience the whole area. So, yeah.
Yeah. But before I forget, I want to go back really quick to talk about Michael Eisner. One of the other things I really liked about Michael Eisner, and I really miss from present day Disney, is I loved that he tried to mimic that Uncle Walt thing. Like, he would come on Sunday nights and be like, "Hi, I'm Michael Eisner, President and CEO of the Walt Disney Company." And he'd talk to Mickey Mouse, and like he would talk about the parks, or he was the face. He was like I'm the cool uncle, that runs Disney.
Just a corporate suit.
Yeah. And we don't have that.
We don't. And I think Bob Iger could actually pull that off. I think he's a likable enough personality, which is what I think. Like, I don't know that Bob Iger, in terms of policy, is really that different from Bob Chapek. He just is more likable.
Yeah.
I don't know why he won't lean into that more.
Yeah.
Like we were watching the Academy Awards the other night, and we saw Bob Iger in the crowd, and Lindsay and I were like, "Oh, there's Bob Iger," versus, "Oh, there's Bob Chapek," right?
Right.
So I don't know why Bob doesn't lean more into his likability.
Yeah.
And he really never has, so it's not even like the him coming back, this version of him as CEO 2.0, that it stopped there. No, he never really did. But yeah, I don't.
He seemed to do more public stuff when he had retired from the company, because he was out talking about stuff, which was really cool. There was a couple of news interviews where he kind of said a lot of stuff that I think as CEO he would never be able to say, and obviously didn't know he was coming back. So it's kind of crazy that you get this kind of insight and you're like, oh, now he's back. So like we kind of already know. But the other person who I think could do it, and I don't know if he'll end up being CEO eventually, but is Josh D'Amaro. He's super likable. he comes off as super charismatic and that kind of thing. Now, I know some people think he comes off a little fake, and they say like he's running the parks division, so things like Lightning Lane and all these extra added bonuses, do go through him at some level. But people, it's like you said, if you got the personality, you'll overlook a lot of things if he's likable.
So
sorry for the tangent, but I thought that was a good conversation.
So the book happened, and then that kind of morphed into something else, which is what you're doing now. That's kind of your focus more permanently, full time, and you've shifted away from teaching. So let's talk about how the book kind of then shifted and opened more doors for the keynote speaking.
Yeah, so I ended up on the speaking circuit as a motivational, inspirational leadership speaker because people just love Disney, and people love hearing about Walt's story, and this idea that I would, teach a class while facing a life-threatening brain tumor is something that, motivates and inspires people. And I sort of just leaned into that and, have managed to turn it into a full-time and, very rewarding career. So I started speaking almost immediately after the first book came out. That really picked up steam after the second book, Beyond the Wisdom of Walt, released in 2017. It was nearly full time when COVID hit in 2020. And that was sort of interesting because, I think in 30 minutes in March of 2020, I lost $25,000 in speaking gigs in about half an hour.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, I ended up with a second brain tumor that summer. I ended up having to have brain surgery in the middle of COVID. And it was another 2-month recovery.
Yeah.
So I wasn't available to speak, and nobody was having me speak. And so that actually, worked out. And that actually is also part of my retirement story, because on the other side of COVID and, facing those health issues, it's like, what do I really want to do with the rest of my life? And, I want to motivate and inspire and write and speak. I love the teaching part. Don't get me wrong. But higher ed on the other side of COVID with, policies and masks and remote and it's just like, I don't need to do this anymore.
Well, and I feel like this is very much in the same vein. It's just to a much bigger audience, because every time that you have these talks, it's new faces. So
it is. And,
more impactful.
And the other thing that I really love is I end up with more educators connecting with my content than almost any other group. So I had 4 conversations with educators across the country just last week alone. So now my audience isn't just students in the classroom, or maybe administrators that I'm, having budget arguments with or policy arguments with, but educators who, found my book and they love Disney and they want to get creative with their curriculum. And so I'm able to pour into them and give them some ideas in terms of the directions of where they want to go.
That's like full circle almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And I know we talked about it, and I know I feel like I'm obsessive about it, but I'm serious. I subscribe to a few newsletters, and yours and actually our friends at Where in the Park are the 2 that I read completely. When I see it come in, if I don't have a chance to read it, I leave it in my inbox. And there's actually, I don't know if you remember this story or if you want to share it on the podcast or not. Otherwise, I'll just have Teresa read it. Teresa's a huge Haunted Mansion fan. And for Halloween, you wrote a great newsletter post about Memento Mori, and basically about the fact that if you knew how many days you had left to live, how would you live your life differently? And I remember reading that and thinking, wow, what a way to look at things. Yeah. And why don't we do this more often? It's such a cool story to link it to that.
Well, thank you. It's and that's another example, right? We all love Haunted Mansion. It's one of the, top 2 or 3 attractions for Disney fans across the country. The only attraction built for both Anaheim and Walt Disney World simultaneously. And when we're going through the graveyard, almost every one of the tombstones has Memento Mori on it. In fact, the shop at World, we just opened a shop here at Disneyland. I'm not sure what it's titled, but the one in World is called the Memento Mori shop.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that even mean? It's Latin for remember, you will die. Well, the point of remembering you will die isn't to feel sad about it, but to live your best life every single day.
Yeah.
And, what that looks like for each and every person is a little bit different. And I wanted to use Halloween and the Haunted Mansion to remind everyone, live your best life every day because you're not always going to be here.
Yeah. You're never promised tomorrow.
Correct.
He also said, I'm reading it in my email right now because
you're going to quote me better than I can.
you have such a way with words and being able to apply Disney stuff to all types of topics, and that's why I like reading it so much. So this is another one. So from the Haunted Mansion, he said, the ghost host in one of the ride's most memorable quotes says, your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. It's a theatrical way of hinting that change is inevitable. Whether it's our transformation into ghosts in the afterlife or the shifts we make in our current lives. So I don't know. Like I said, I love reading your newsletter and all the different things. You've taught me stuff. You did one that I thought was really great around the election time, talking about when, the president went to, or the future president, so they went to Disneyland and they were like, well, I can't ride Dumbo because
Truman.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I don't really care. People, and it worked out, like, don't worry about it, So you're always topical kind of with what's going on. You've been writing a lot. Actually, I've really liked a lot of your recent ones too, because you've been talking a lot because you have a book coming up that you're going to come out about relationships. And it's gotten me to reflect on my relationship a lot because it's talking about, relating it to the park, maintaining things, making sure that you're always keeping that paint fresh and everything. And that it's all the small things that matter. Like, everybody's blown away by the big stuff, but it's those little things every day that really make the big difference. And it's made me think about that a lot and reflect on, I need to start being better at paying attention to those little things and not toss it off as, well, who cares? It's like something small. What if I don't do it? It's not a big deal, but it is. It is. And it all is Disney.
Yeah. So the relationship book, Lindsay and I are going to write together, which we're really excited about. And she provides tech support for a couple of different relationship classes. And we're going to be taking, and this is like true to even my Wisdom of Walt and Beyond the Wisdom of Walt books. There isn't anything revolutionary about success or leadership in those books other than I'm telling those principles through Walt's life or through stories that you experience in the parks. Well, that's what the relationship book is going to be. It's relationship advice that you've either heard before, learned before, already know, but we're going to put a Disney twist on it. So, for example, it's not what you say as much as it is how you say it, right? And so that's going to be a chapter called Tone Town rather than Toontown.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you're inevitably going to have conflict in any relationship. And so it's not about whether you're going to fight. It's really about how are you going to fight. And so that chapter is going to be titled Fight of Passage.
See, don't you just want to buy it right there? Just because you're like, if nothing else, it's punny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think most importantly, it's not just going to be me, but it's going to have Lindsay's voice in there, and it's going to have our voice in there. We're really excited about bringing those stories together and adding value because, 90% of our happiness and 90% of our success in life comes from having the right partner. And, if we can help others in their relationship, nothing would make us happier.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we've got the new book coming. I'm sure you're very busy with talks that you're doing. Is there anything else on the horizon or plans or future goals that you have?
So I have a deal with a publisher to take the best, and I'm sort of hung up on which 52 are the best, a Wednesday with Walt blog and putting them into a compilation that would get published and printed. So again, I already have an agreement with a publisher, and I'm in the process of compiling which of the 52. And the reason we're doing 52 and the reason why so the blog comes out every Wednesday. It's 100% free. Then it's called Wednesdays with Walt with the WED in Wednesdays, being all caps because Imagineering was originally called WED, and WED was founded in 1952, and there's 52 Wednesdays in a year.
Ah, there you go.
I like being maybe more clever than I should be. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to take 52 of the best and put those into a compilation, and that'll get published at some point this year.
Very
Nice.
exciting.
But you don't have to buy it. You can sign up for the Wednesdays with Walt blog and start reading it for free immediately. And if you don't want to have to like back read everything, you can read the compilation when it comes out.
There you go. So how many Wednesdays with Walt have you put out there to then have to try and narrow down to 52?
Gosh, probably several hundred at this point. When I first started, I really struggled with consistency. And for the last couple of years, I'm really proud of it. I can't remember the last time I didn't put one out.
Wow.
I take 2 weeks off at the end of the year for Christmas and New Year's. But other than that, and even I had foot surgery on Tuesday, and there was a part of me that was like, we don't really have to publish. And then it's like, no. I'm like, no, we got, and so it went out a few hours later than normal, but we still got it out in a somewhat less than optimal state yesterday.
I mean, the day after surgery, I think that's fair.
Well, it was already written and already edited. I just hadn't put it in. I just hadn't, posted it and sent it through the, email release system.
Yeah.
That's still very impressive, though.
I highly recommend people. I mean, obviously, I've been talking highly of it because it's just like these nice little tidbits. It brings like a nice midweek Disney like break and something that I could like use in my life. I thought it was really helpful. So now we just gotta wait for the book to come out, and then I'll probably be very excited about that one too.
Yeah, and if your listeners are trying to figure out what we're talking about, just go to thewisdomofwalt.com, and under resources you'll find blog. You just have to put in your email address, and you'll immediately get 7 leadership lessons from the happiest place on earth. And you'll start getting the Wednesdays with Walt starting next Wednesday. And again, it's 100% free, and you can unsubscribe at any time.
But you're not going to want to.
We'll have the link in our show notes to make it even easier for you, everyone.
Definitely.
All right. Is there anything that we haven't covered, Jeff, that you would like to go over before we kind of wrap things up?
I just want to tell the listeners, Disney's great. And I understand, like, in the time in which we live, there's a lot of people hating on Disney and, telling you that Disney's too expensive and, Disney's this, Disney's that. Don't let anybody tell you what to like and what to love and what to do and what not to do. Do you, right? Mm-hmm. And, to the point where Lindsay's about ready to, kick me. When people say Disney's too expensive, no one can afford to go anymore. I mean, we were just there on Monday night. I so wish that were true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the number one complaint that I get is it's too expensive. And then the number 2 complaint I get is, why is it so crowded?
Right.
Wouldn't that be an amazing business problem to have?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they continue to do something right. They might not do everything right, but they're doing something right. And I think we can all learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, our last question that we ask everybody is, if you could work at Disneyland, what would you do? Now, the sky's the limit. It can be a real job or even one you make up.
So I'm going to cheat. If it's the winter time and it's cool, I'm going to be a tour guide.
Okay.
That's
and
fair.
I've kind of like created that gig for myself because we do give tours. And if it's the summertime and it's hot and I don't want to be out in the sun and the heat, I want to work in that control tower launching the rockets in Space Mountain.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
See, we knew something was up. Remember I told you we came back from Space Mountain and the queue and everything was empty, so it must have shut down whatever. When we were loading and going out, there was 3 or 4 people in the booth, which there's never that many. There's always one, right. Maybe 2 people.
Yep.
So James is like, I wonder what's going on. I'm like, well, maybe they're training. And then when we came back, the queue was empty. So I don't know what was going on, but there was something was going on for sure.
Yeah, but I've always wanted to I think being a ride operator would be really cool, and that's the ride I would want to operate.
Yeah,
that's the one.
There was a gentleman one of the trips, Teresa and I were there, and they were starting to run behind. And Space Mountain is one of those things like they have a very quick time frame, or they'll get a cascading shutdown. And there was a guy who was trying to get the lap bar down or move his leg or something.
Yep.
And the cast member, I've never seen someone move so fast. He jumped to the side, and there's a small set of stairs that they can pull next to the rocket to like get you off. Mm-hmm. He whipped that thing over and was telling the guy, "Get out, get out, get out." And the guy was like, "No, it's fine. No, it's fine." And he got it and clipped it down. So then he threw the stairs back to the other side because it was time to go. But as we came into that final tunnel, it cascaded. So he had done it just a little too late. But man, that cast member was trying with everything he had to get that taken care of. And it was crazy. So doing that role, I think, would be very stressful. Being in the tower, less stressful, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeff, it was a pleasure. Dr. Disneyland.
I loved it.
It was a pleasure
Right.
having you on this evening. Where can people, we kind of already talked about it, but let's remind people, where can people find you online if they're interested in following your work and picking up your books?
So you can find me at thewisdomofwalt.com, and the books are available, of course, on Amazon, The Wisdom of Walt, Beyond the Wisdom of Walt. You can find me on Instagram, Dr. Disneyland, and you can find me on Facebook, Jeff Barnes, or the Facebook page, The Wisdom of Walt.
Awesome.
Perfect. And
we'll
of course, links in the show notes.
all that in the show notes so people can easily find you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we spoke first with our friends over at Where in the Park back on episode 265. Amanda and Kevin create amazing, fun, seek and find scavenger hunt games in the parks all over the world. Whether you want to challenge at Disneyland or want to explore a new place like Universal Studios, Knott's Berry Farm, or SeaWorld, there are fun game packs for everyone. Something really exciting that they just came out with was all sorts of different bundle deals. So not only are you getting a discount because you're buying a bundle pack, you also get to use promo code DLWeekly at checkout to save 10% on your next order. Some of the fun bundles that I'm taking a look at right now are the Walt Disney World Where in the Park game 4-pack bundle, first series. There's also special pack bundles for people like Magic Key holders that get 6 different game packs that are all individual and unique. So you get 136 different details to discover around the parks. They have been very kind and gracious and had gifted us game packs that we have taken to both Disneyland, DCA, and we even tried our hand at Knott's Berry Farm, which we are total Knott's Berry Farm novices. But we had
That was a challenge.
So much fun on each of these. So it doesn't matter if this is your first visit or your 1 millionth visit to the park. These game packs are super, super fun.
There's also something that I've been kind of hoping that they would do at some point, and it looks like they're starting to maybe play around with, is you can buy the digital game, and right now they only have Downtown Disney, and they have a special digital game for Nurses Day in the park. Some pretty cool like digital things if you don't want to be carrying stuff around. Those are a couple options. Maybe if you're just curious and you want something to not have to wait. Maybe you're listening to this on your way to the park and you don't have time to wait for a pack to come in the mail. Maybe go download the app.
Visit the link in our show notes to get started on your next park adventure today.
Welcome back to TriviaLand, Chef. My name Raymond, and I hope them answers are bigger and better than this here back porch I got attached to me. Don't you know Evangeline and I wish y'all the best of luck.
Hello and welcome back to TriviaLand. I know you're excited because we got so many great questions from our trip.
I'm so confused and I feel lost. Like I feel like we knew the answers, but I'm also not confident.
I don't like that feeling, but I hear what you're saying. Hear what you're saying. Well, let's just get to the answers, and then you can be sure, right? So,
sounds good.
My first question asked is, what colors do the Dapper Dans typically wear? You went with yellow, purple, red, and some sort of tealish color. And
I went with orange.
Oh, you went
yellow.
You did go with orange. I did note that because Teresa was right and got full credit because it is more of a yellow than an orange.
Good job, Teresa.
It's tough though. We pulled it up. And it's kind of somewhere in between yellow and orange. Like, I could see how some people might say maybe it's more orange. I get why your memory was going that way.
I always feel like it's more yellow when I see it in person, but...
Yeah.
Not to be confused, in Disney World, there's often a Dapper Dan in green.
Oh.
Yep.
Instead, it swaps what color out?
I think it swaps the red one out.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
by the way, to answer my own question a little bit, there are 12 performers hired to do the performances, but 4 come out at a time.
Oh, so there's three groups.
Yeah, apparently.
They probably do stick together. There's something about a musical group and having an understanding of each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, when reading about it, I realized a song I don't know if I've ever heard them sing, but hope I do at some point, is There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow.
Oh.
Yes.
So I love that little bit of Disney lore mixed in there. All right, moving on. Second question I asked you this week is, what are the first and last lines said by the audio animatronics in Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room? The first line, as correctly stated by Tag multiple times, buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter.
And James's Spanish is not getting any better.
Nope. There's a reason I did not learn Spanish, right? Which takes us to our last line, which you're close enough for. Ja, a wunderbar trick. Everybody face the door, and the trick is we gonna make you all disappear.
Okay.
We had the...
You all disappears. What?
Yeah.
You were in the spirit of it. It was great. So, full points. Love it.
Good job, us.
Well done for not sleeping through the beginning and the end of the tiki room. So. My next question. Stanley's Oasis is in the queue for Radiator Springs Racers. It's identified as which wonder of the world? You went with 8 and 9. Yeah, you had to be somewhere in the middle because, like a magical platform, Stanley's Oasis is pretty great. It's the 8 3/4 wonder of the world.
So, like, somewhere in between our guesses of 8 and 9?
Yeah, you're pretty close, but not there. So
I couldn't find the colors of the Dapper Dans, by the way. Not the colors, but like what they might represent.
Oh, yeah.
So I asked our good, reliable AI, ChatGPT, but I don't think it's accurate.
I don't think so either, because I feel like red is usually the base, and this is saying blue.
Let me just tell you what ChatGPT says, and you can take it with a grain of salt. It says red is often worn by the lead singer, who is typically the one carrying the melody in most barbershop songs. Yellow or gold is often worn by the tenor. Usually the baritone wears green, but I guess that would be what the
blue teal color.
Well, no, because the next one is blue. So
they went to Florida.
They went to Florida.
And blue is the bass, who sings the lowest part of the harmony, which is funny because in the response it says Barbershop Quartet at Disneyland, but then they talk about green, so go figure.
This is how much we know when you trust AI.
ChatGPT, what are you... you're just going to pull up a performance.
We just need to get a poll of everyone the next time they're in the park and seeing the Dapper Dans.
I remember from Disneyland, and I'm pretty sure he's a bass.
Well, let's see when they start singing, which is going to be like any second now. Here you go.
Meant to be.
Okay, well, whatever. I don't know.
There he is.
I don't even know what any of these things mean. Okay.
It's catchy.
It is.
Poor Sidell having to edit through that. Anyway.
The final question I gave you this week is, what does each family member study at the Adventureland Treehouse? You got a little help.
Close.
You got a little help knowing the father, mother, daughter, and twin sons, meaning there's only 4 things I'm looking for out of the 5.
Oh.
So the twin sons study animals, zoology close enough. The daughter studies astronomy. The mother studies music. The father is most notable for being the chef.
Oh.
But
I guess there's the whole kitchen thing.
He does also have his art studio nearby, but his plaque definitely points to his cooking more than anything. So
I would say his inventing skills, because have you seen the gadgets and gizmos aplenty in that kitchen?
Do they have who's its and what's it galore?
They do.
Yes. Well, thank you for reliving my journey of things I noticed in the park. I only have like 1 or 2 more for you in future weeks. So, yeah. So this basically wraps up the questions that I brought home after our trip. So thank you for going down this little memory with me. I'm sure I still have a handful in my notes somewhere, but I think I'm going to have to depend on listeners to help fill in the gap. So if you want to join us in asking some trivia questions for Tag and Teresa to struggle through, doubt themselves, get right in an instant, It's all going to happen. Just head to our website, dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to Sidel for editing this podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.